Welcome to ENG 303, Study Session 10, WH Questions. Introduction. We have discussed above that there are different types of questions. In Chapter 8, we discussed polar questions, and in this chapter, we shall discuss WH questions. Objectives. At the end of this lecture, you should be able to 1. Construct WH questions, explain the derivation of WH questions, and distinguish between polar questions and WH questions. Pre-test. 1. What is a WH question? 2. How are WH questions formed? 3. What is the difference between a polar question and a WH question? Content. The WH question is another category of questions. It's a form of direct questions. The question type is used to request information rather than seek confirmation on one's idea. They characteristically begin with W what's. These are why, where, when, who, which, what, and how. In this chapter, we discuss the realization of WH questions and show their relationship with polar questions. WH questions. Two processes are necessary in the realization of WH questions. They are 1. The application of the auxiliary NP inversion, and 2. The movement of a W word from its original position in a sentence to the sentence initial position. However, the process in 1 must take place before that of 2. We have discussed the application of auxiliary NP inversion 1, the last chapter. In this chapter, we shall pay less attention to the first process and concentrate more on the second. Recall that in yes or no questions, AGR, TNS, and modal or ASP are moved into comb. The same process first applies in the construction of a W question formation. After the application of AUX-NP inversion, the WH word moves to the sentence initial position precisely into another comb. This means that we have two comb positions. The first comb, the one occupied by AGR, TNS, and modal or ASP, occurs next to the subjects. The second comb occurs before this comb and is occupied by the WH word, which has just been extracted from its initial position. It means, therefore, that both combs occur side by side, but they are both dominated by a bigger comb, as in the following schema. The schema shows that the comb now branches into 2. The dotted line shows that WH word moves from somewhere in the sentence and lands in the comb in the sentence initial position. The second comb is reserved for items to be moved from the INFL after the application of the AUX-NP inversion rule. Let's see how this works with different questions. Consider the following. They will put who on trial. B. Will they put who on trial? C. WH movement. Who will they put on trial? While 1A shows the deep structure of the basic declarative sentence, 1B shows the output of the application of AUX-NP inversion, while 1C shows the product of the application of affix open rule. The basic tree diagram analysis are the following: deep structure, 3, derived or surface structure. Surface structure, who will they put on trial? In the second tree diagram, the WH word, whom, is moved from the object's position of put and deposited into the first comb. Note that T is put on the extraction site and it is co-indexed with whom through the use of a subscript. This means that both of them are co-referential. For example, they refer to the same thing, they have the same meaning. The 3 elements under INFL are also moved into the second comb, and the INFL node remains empty. Finally, the affix open rule applies to the terminal strings to arrive at the surface structure. Here is another example. Who speaks Hausa? Deep structure. Who speaks Hausa? 6. Surface structure. Who speaks Hausa? The deep structure and surface structure appears to be the same when we write them. However, as the analysis show, who occurs in the subject position of the deep structure, but in the derived structure, it occurs in the comb. This means that the WH words moves into the first comb and the INFL element also moves into the second comb. The analysis is concluded with the application of affix open rule. Finally, let's look at the behavior of adverbial WH words. Witness this. 7. Where can we swim? The declarative form of this, which is also the deep structure, is 8. We can swim where? This can be analyzed as follows. 9. Basic structure. 10. Derived structure. Surface structure. Where can we swim? The first thing we should note here is that in the deep structure, WH words always occur in the final position of a sentence. However, when the sentence is converted to a question, the WH word is moved into the first comb. Note too that the INFL elements are still moved into the second comb as the second schema. The affix open rule finally applies for us to derive the surface structure. Summary. In this lecture, we have studied the formation of WH questions. We considered 2 major classes of WH words, the NP and the adverbial. We also note that WH questions utilize the auxiliary NP inversion rule that we studied in the formation of polar questions before the WH word is fronted. We observed that the comb is split into 2 such that WH words occupy the first comb position while the moved INFL elements occupy the second comb. Finally, we note that affix open rule applies to the terminal strings to derive the actual surface structure. This is the end of study session 10. Thanks for listening.